Welcome to the Bodacious Women in Cannabis podcast, the show where the bold and brilliant women cannabis business leaders share their journey and their expertise. Here's your host, Susan Burns.
Hi, this is your podcast host, Susan Burns. As a cannabis lawyer by profession, nothing delights me more than showcasing bodacious women in cannabis. Today, we are talking with Katie Enright. Katie is the founder and CEO of Lavinia. What, you may ask, is Lavinia? It's a product that challenges taboos by combining cannabis and sex. Now, what piqued my interest the most is that Katie was initially studying to become a nun. So if this combination doesn't excite my oppressive Catholic schoolgirl upbringing, I don't know what would. Welcome, Katie.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So you are probably the most out there person in terms of product that I've interviewed. So how do you combine cannabis and sex in a product and make the world a better place? And how did this all start? And how did you get from studying to be a nun to diving deep into two taboo subjects, especially in the Catholic background?
Yeah, I mean, there's there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So cannabis and sex are like peas and carrots. They go together really well. Do peas and carrots go together really well? I've always thought of that there's got to be two more complementary things that I can say than peas and carrots. But anyways, that's the old
butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly. That's so much better. So it goes together like peanut butter and jelly. Cannabis is a vasodilator, which basically means that it increases the size of the blood vessels, which increases blood flow. So anytime that you have that in a sexual situation, boom, like it's magic happens. So I, was studying to become a nun. I decided not to. I did a discernment period in Ireland, and I met a Belgian knight named Francois. And I didn't know that there were Belgian knights in the world. And as soon as I met him, I was like, maybe I don't want to take a vow of celibacy and all of the other vows. So I decided not to become a nun, but I didn't know anything about sex. Because I was prepared to take a vow of celibacy. I literally didn't know anything. And I was really scared of being bad or sexually inadequate, or, I didn't know what was expected and kind of how everything works. So I started taking like classes and webinars and like literally started to study sex, because the only educational base I had was, I remember in 5th grade when they awkwardly bring you into a room with all the other girls, and you talk about stages of development and very awkwardly talk about sex, and that was really my only formal sexual education. So I kind of had a lot of gaps to fill in, so to speak. And then I was training for a marathon, and I started to incorporate cannabis in my recovery. And I realized I did some research, and I was making balms for myself in my kitchen. And I realized that you could use cannabis to enhance your sexual experience, in particular, using it as like a lubricant. And I tried it, and it was amazing. But the balms that I was making for myself were coconut oil was the base. And for me personally, coconut oil almost instantaneously causes yeast infection. It kills good bacteria. It's not great. It's not a great lubricant. So I literally went to a dispensary the next day to buy the product just because I wanted to be a consumer of it. And I couldn't find anything that didn't have coconut oil. And so literally I just started making it for myself in my kitchen, and then just giving it to friends and friends of friends. And I was bartending, and somebody came up to me when I was bartending and was like, "Hey, are you the weed lube girl?" And I was like, as soon as he said that, well, then he said, "Can I get some?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, of course." And he's like, "I'll buy it from you." And as soon as he said, "I'll buy it from you," something in my brain clicked. And I was like, oh, this is a company. This is like a business. Like other people, strangers want this that have never, that have only heard reviews. And that's when I started going through the process of starting the company.
And how long ago was that?
That was probably 2020. Well, 2019, 2020, because I kind of futzed around for a little bit. We spent about a year and a half in R&D. We did 25 different formulations. I did every possible thing you could think of. before we came out with our orgasmic blend of THC and CBD.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you started about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I guess that's right. We launched in 2020, at the very end of 2021.
Okay. So, too bad you couldn't get it out there during the pandemic.
I know. What's so funny is
it's been super hot.
I know. It's such a bummer.
I'm sure they are, though. We would have had more happy people.
People were
probably less
thrilled to stay home.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now I know what your inspiration is. But have you had, since I know, and then you went through many formulations of the product, and finally found one that you said, bingo, this is it. So have you, other than trying to find the right product combination of ingredients, are there any challenges that you've experienced as you've been growing your business in the last couple of years?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think there's just kind of challenges at every corner, but like it's kind of also how you view it. Do you view it as a challenge, or do you view it as an opportunity to make your product better, as an opportunity to grow? We had a pump issue, unfortunately, when we first launched, and so we've changed our packaging. But that was, horrifying. Definitely not what you'd like to happen when you first launch a company. But again, that's all part of the growth in the story. And whenever you're starting anything, it was a really good lesson to start small. Order the smallest amount possible. So if there is an issue, you can fix it right away.
Okay. And are you getting any negative feedback, I should say? Is there?
No, what's really cool about our product is that we actually have data. So there's a vibrator called the Lioness that has sensors on the side that records the pulsing of the vaginal walls during a sexual experience. So what's so cool is that we actually have data that we can say this orgasm was better than this orgasm. It was better than this orgasm. So we actually have like graphs to show how it works. I would say that there is a 15-minute to half-hour onset time, and that is crucial to the success of the product because it's just like an edible. Like it needs that time to increase the size of the blood vessels and increase the blood flow. The thing is, it's a silicone-based lubricant. And so people are like, oh, I've used lube before. So they put it on and then go to town. And 10 minutes later, their sexual experience is done. And it's like, no, it needs 15 minutes to marinate. We like to say, marinate for 15 minutes to a half hour. And so that's kind of, I think, educating people as to like that there is an onset time and why that onset time is really important to adhere to. And so I've had people be like, oh yeah, it was like the lubricant itself is a really very silky, very amazing feeling lubricant. So people have said, that they enjoy the experience of it, but haven't experienced the heightened effect of the cannabis. And every single time I'm like, well, how long did you leave it on for? And they're like, oh, like 10 minutes. The whole thing, was 10 minutes. And I'm like, and then they try it again and they're like, holy cow, that was amazing.
Okay. So the importance foreplay.
Yes. Or you can just put it on before.
Put it on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There is something that's called, there is nanotechnology that would make the product work a lot quicker. But the problem is that it tastes really bad. So we tried it, and then we had like our testing group say that they had to brush their teeth like after going down on somebody while using the product, and then they didn't continue their sexual experience. And I was like, that's enough for me to be like, you know what, it's worth 7 extra minutes for a better experience.
Would definitely be a buzzkill on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Brush your teeth, yeah. So what about pushback, like negative pushback from people that think that it's, well, I'm thinking about my Catholic upbringing because sex is bad, pleasure is bad, cannabis is bad, anything like that, media pushback or backlash about.
It's interesting. I would say I haven't, personally, I mean, there are some members of my family that still don't know what I do for a living because, it would be pretty taboo. That's my dog. I wanted to say hello. That would be pretty taboo. Hold on one second. Um, so that I would say that there's, some of my family doesn't even know about it. It's very funny because we both have red hair. So we're like the two gingers. So I would say some of my family members don't know. But I'd say that the hardest part for me, the most is the fact that we're trying to advertise to really highly taboo things like sex and cannabis. It's nearly impossible. I mean, it's really, if you look at
because of all the restrictions.
Exactly. Like if you look at a traditional marketing strategy, we cannot pursue any of those outlets because it's like we can't do Google ads. And, if we're allowed to because of cannabis, we can't because it's a lubricant. So that's honestly been like the most challenging part for us so far is the fact that we're trying to really normalize something that is taboo, but is also great. Like sex is really important to the continuing of our species. Cannabis is so healing and so amazing and has so many great benefits to it, but it's been, criminalized for so long that it's very, I would say, honestly, that's the most frustrating part and the part that has been the biggest challenge of our company.
Okay. Yeah. What about that makes a lot of sense. So for you, probably you have to do more podcasts, speaking engagements, just in-person networking or now we do Zoom networking or events. So that would be your best way, it seems like.
Yeah. I'm actually going to school to be a certified cannabis educator and then also to be a certified sex educator as well, because we would love to tie sex education into our company because it's really, a lot of people use porn as their sex education, and porn is amazing for so many things, but porn isn't an accurate representation of what a real life sexual experience is like. It's two paid performers that are paid to do positions that are not the most comfortable but are the most profitable. So that's something that, I'm really excited to bring that aspect and that element into our company.
Do you anticipate developing more? Tell us the name of your product.
So the name of the lubricant is called Oh Hi. I'm very excited. We're about to launch with an anal shooter for enhanced pleasure during anal sex, and that is called Oh Hello. And then we're also right about to launch with before sex gummies and after sex gummies. So it's really very exciting because we've kind of had this in the works also for years. Like I said, we like to really take a lot of time in R&D and make sure that the formulation and that it's a product that we're really proud of and really comfortable with. So it's kind of funny that it's been in the works for a long time, but it's like all coming out like the same few months, basically.
Okay. All right. And is it marijuana based or hemp based, your product?
Cannabis based. Yeah. So it's cannabis based. And then we are working on a hemp line for broader distribution, just because it's very challenging to only be able to be sold in the state of California. And then you have to, if you want to expand to other states, adhere to all of their manufacturing regulations, all of their different laws, all of their packaging laws. And a lot of those places are vertically integrated as well. So it's a little bit more challenging for brands to come in unless you grow as well. So hemp is the next path as well.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I personally I'm a huge fan of hemp, and in particular, I don't know about vasodilation though. Do they have the same vasodilative properties?
They do, yeah. Very similar. It's not quite as effective, I would say, from the data that we've collected from the vibrator. It's about 80% as effective as cannabis. So if cannabis is 100%, it's about 80%, which is still better than nothing.
Yeah, I would say anything's helpful. How about, Katie, anything that when you started this business, you didn't ever think something so magnificent would happen as a result?
So what's so funny?
Obvious.
Yeah, it's very funny because I never envisioned myself that I would be starting a business. My background is in film. I went to the Warner Brothers directing program. I started off as an actor. I thought that the entertainment industry was going to be like the home that I lived in. And so it's been such a interesting journey to suddenly come into the business world, because it's such a different world. It's so, it's just so unique. It has its unique challenges. I'm actually writing a show about this kind of journey, just because I'm like, why not, combine both of my loves and passions into one. But yeah,
That's a great idea.
Thanks. Yeah, it's super fun. It's
Yeah. So that's your benefit, your hidden benefit.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. And it gives you just a whole nother, just the perspective I have on life now is a lot different. Because like my viewpoint isn't, I can kind of see all viewpoints now. Whereas before I would just see my viewpoint. I don't know if that's maybe a little too obscure, but, yeah, it's broadened my horizons, I guess I can say.
So both from your forays into creating the product and from feedback from consumers.
Yeah, and exactly. And just in everything, like before I kind of thought of everything as a consumer, because that's what I was, right? And so now when I think about, a different product, when I'm at the store, I think about, the challenges that product faces, or I think about this, or I think about that. And it's things that I would never have thought of before starting this company.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah, it's very funny. It's like, this shelf space isn't good. This color isn't good. This typography, they should use that. It's all of a sudden you have an opinion about everybody else's stuff. Whereas before, I don't feel like I'd even maybe notice.
Yeah, and labels.
Exactly.
So yeah, it makes such a difference.
Exactly.
So, and where can people find your product? Only in California?
So currently we're only available in dispensaries in the state of California. Like I said before, we are going to expand to a hemp line, which you'll be able to buy at different locations. We haven't launched that line yet, so I'm not exactly sure where. But on our website, Lavinia.com, there is a where to buy section. So you can type in like your zip code and find the closest dispensary to you to buy the product.
Do they ship?
Not across state lines. Unfortunately, maybe the federal government will change laws, but until then.
Yes, that would be nice if we had some changes on that. So, Katie, I would have my own opinion about what makes you bodacious, but what is it that you think? What's your particular brand of bodaciousness?
I think that has actually changed for me, but I think that thinking outside the box is mine. I think that I'm able to see things now in a different way, in a different perspective, and I also am able to see things in a really positive light, which I think is really important when you're doing anything, because it's not about what happens. Like the best thing could happen to you, but 9 great things and 1 awful thing. And if you're the type of person that focuses on the 1 awful thing, everything is going to be miserable. And I think, I don't know if I ever was that person, but I think now I'm definitely like, just my outlook on life and my viewpoint is just life's too short. And I just want to have fun and create really cool products that enhance people's lives. And I want to have a great life myself. And I want everyone to have a great sex life.
So awesome. Yeah. So we go to olavinia.com.
Yep.
Exactly.
OHLAVINIA.com.
Okay. And are you on social media?
I am. Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm _Katie_Enright_. And then we also have Lavinia is on Instagram as well.
Okay. So you have to be so careful.
Yes. Yeah, we do. And we try to really walk that line. It's very challenging because you can be shut down at any moment and your platform is entirely gone.
Yeah.
So
you need to get it back.
It's a pain to get it back. And it's really kind of, it's to me, it's kind of sad because what we're trying to do is really promote really healthy, a really healthy relationship with sex. And it's quite challenging to do, and that's what makes me a little bit sad is that it's just, I think that there's a lot of people that really desire this information and literally have no place to receive it.
Talk to us a little bit more about that, Katie, about, when you're interested in sex education and the availability of that information and, just providing people with the ability to enjoy sex in a healthy way.
I mean, that's the thing right now. I think there's like 2 websites that I know of. I know of OMG Yes is a great one where they talk about sexual education and they talk about different positions and different things, and they really empower people by giving them a lot of knowledge. But that's a paid subscription. There really isn't a place that's like almost a free platform where people can go and learn about a healthy sexual experience.
So what makes you so interested in that? I mean, I know you've discovered this great combination of products that enhance the sexual experience, but why the drive for the education part?
I think it's probably because I didn't really have any. And I didn't really have access to any. And I really had to go and pursue it myself. And I feel like I want to be able to give people a platform where it's not scary or intimidating, or they don't.
Or shaming.
Or shaming, exactly. I think that that's really, really, really important, especially if you have a little bit more of a religious background. Sometimes it's very challenging to find any education about sex.
Mm-hmm. Well, bless you for doing it, Katie. We need more education for sure.
Thank you.
So Lavinia.com and Lavinia on Instagram and _Katie_Enright on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.